this out. Letting everything come together. Alright. Well, it says that I am live, but I'm not live here, which is where I want to be. I don't want to re-encode everything. Oh, we'll just play it by ear. I'll have to edit the title and all of that later. It just says live. I don't think I can adjust the actual title and all of that. I can add to queue. I want to change title though. Oh, we'll just play it by ear. I'll have to edit the title and all of that later. It just says live edit. There we go. Found it. Live edit. Today we are going to be doing Dead by Daylight, alternative reviews, new perk ideas, and rants. Live. Unprepared. Alright. Sure, you can go there. Add in the Dead by Daylight tag. Might actually pick people up if you actually tag your videos. And by tag, I mean actually list the game. We want to allow all comments. Well, let's go in here. Dead by Daylight. Not a period, a comma. There you go. Thought there was a place where you can actually add in game. Category, game. Game title. Dead by Daylight 2016. Let's go. Now that all of this is going to be live and literally just on the spur of the moment. I got in the shower and was just like, yup, we doing it. So today I would like to talk about some more alternative killer reviews, but that's not going to be the primary focus. I want to think about new perks, new innovations, new things that you can actually add to the game to just make things different, you know, just kind of shake the bush a little bit and see what falls out. Every idea that I'm going to throw out is just boom, as it pops into the top of my head, and I'm just going to keep kind of snowballing from there. So, you know, some people can see just the creative thought process that me and as an individual has in coming up with new ideas, and hopefully it'll get your creative thought process going. Yesterday, day before, this guy's kind of smart. If I would have put a thing that said poster killer ideas there, I kind of prefer them all being separate, because I can see what I've went through with things like that. If I really like the concept, I just noticed that I can bookmark it and keep going back to them, as opposed to everything just being combined into one little category. Then I have to open this category and then scroll down every single time to find something. Yes, it would make reviews easier, because then I could just go from boom, one to another to another to another. But if I come across a not as great idea of a killer, then I'm either gonna have to basically shame them from what they're doing because, I have to give some sort of advice. Or I'm gonna have to skip past and then go back through and edit it out. And anybody that comes to the forum, they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, he didn't even look at this one. What it did." But yesterday, yeah, it was yesterday. I said I called the fellow creators for perks. You don't want to skip this. I set up a scenario, and I'm hoping to get enough people on board to throw out some good ideas. Something that we can take to the top. The first thing I want to go back to is I included a change that can happen via Dead Hard. And I want to kind of expand on that. Dead Hard, Dead Hard, Dead Hard. No, it wasn't Dead Hard, it was No Mither. That's why I can't find it. It was No Mither, and I probably could just click on my name and find my post that I put up. There. How to make No Mither more usable. Now, before I go through all of this, No Mither, by definition, is not being bothered or annoyed by something, because Mither is annoyed. Being annoyed or irritated. No Mither means not doing that. So get out, kid, all of that. I posted all of its stats and added in that you could add in just a random thing saying you're no longer affected by killer perks or hexes. What I tried to do by throwing just something out there is to try to get a response from the community to say, oh, well, you can improve No Mither by this, but unfortunately it failed. So like I said, No Mither is about shrugging things off and not being bothered or irritated. Then why not go all the way and add something in that is equivalent to leaving you broken all match, or in the broken status all match? I know this would have to be, balanced and things like that, but like I said, I was just shooting an idea. To not be affected by ruin or other perks like that in exchange for, having that state, which kind of is strengthened by boon totems and things like that, is good. However, what I'm going to spin after this is going to be very interesting for No Mither and other perks. So, instead of you no longer affected by killers, perks, and hexes, how's about this for making No Mither more usable? See, let me put this in the words. So, when somebody enters the match with No Mither, killer can instantly tell. And when you get into a chase with them or anything like that, you can go over down them and, you basically have to instantly pick them up. No Mither's good for running with, decisive and power struggle and things like that, or soul guard, and Dead Hard, and unbreakable, things like that. However, what if instead of adding in where you're no longer affected by some perks or hexes and things like that, what if you make it the where as soon as they join the match, they join healthy, and as soon as they're put into an injured or dying state, No Mither then activates. Because as it is now, when injured or dying, grunts of pain are reduced. You don't need those as soon as you join the game. Your recovery speed is increased. You don't need those when you first join the game. You can recover from the dying state. You still don't need those when you first join the game. This is only active if you're ever found by the killer. If you're a stealthy boy or you're a good looper, and you rarely take damage, or you can get away from loops, none of that stuff really is helpful towards you. Which is why I generally wanted to add an effect that's available for when you're not actually in chase or anything like that. So, no longer being affected by perks or hexes. That's like the top of the totem pole. But what about no mither doesn't activate until the first time you're hit or injured, or until you go to the injured state. If you're mended by a or mended, deep wounded by a legion or something like that, that's a toss up, and the devs will eventually have to test around that and all of that. There's not something you can balance, just right on hand, because there's a lot of solutions to where it can go both ways, and without actual live, player data, you couldn't balance that when it comes to the deep wounded effect in no mither. But making it not come into effect until you are injured, or having the perk switch up an entire 180 degrees. When you start off healed, and while you're healed, scratch marks are reduced. The time and scratch marks are reduced by 25%. Your healing speed for other survivors are increased by 20%. Picking a teammate up from dying state is faster, or something like that. Then once you get injured, it can go to the old no mither state for the rest of the match, or something like that. Which is part 1 of 2 of the new guideline that I would actually like to introduce, is interactive perks. Perks that if something happens that causes something else to happen, or if X happens, it'll cause X to happen, or if A happens, causes B to happen. But once B happens, C happens, and it kind of was just like a snowball type of perk. Or like this with the no mither, it becomes usable start match. You actually benefits to helping other players. Then once you finally get hit, it becomes a benefit for you personally, because now it's part of your survival and things like that. You're trying to not be annoyed or bothered by what's happening, and you keep going, making no mither more usable. So let's go to step 1 out of interactive perks, which goes to my original post that I made yesterday. There it is. Now, interactive perks. This is part 1. When a boon totem is lit, X happens. However, when the boon totem is extinguished, survivor who lit totem takes 1 health state of damage. That allows you to get out stronger boon totems and things like that. However, it puts a risk on the survivor that's actually running them. Because I hear a lot of people saying circle of healing and all of that is, busted. And it needs to have a cooldown on it. But then everybody's like, well, the totem doesn't go, so after the cooldown, they'll just walk back over and relight it. But what if it's reliant and it takes place of survivor's actual health? When boon totem is lit, circle of healing and all the other buffs stack. And the more boon totems you have, the worse the stack. 1 boon perk can, give you an exhaustive status effect or something that allows you to not be able to light or do anything else towards them. 2 can give you the hit state. 3 will give you the deep wound on top of the heal state, or vice versa, to make this, even more balanced and revolutionary to include the boon perks. Or just keep it simple, when a boon totem is lit, circle of healing, or there's other perks that I'm about to get into. Soon as that happens, as soon as it happens, it's a great buff, either individually or for other survivors and all that. But, if the killer comes by and snuffs it, bam, the survivor's punished. Now, if they elect, to relight it, even though they're injured, which they can do and take that risk, and it gets snuffed again, they go down. Or, the killer's notified, or their ore is revealed, or something like that. But I mean, to have the effect of, them going straight down because they elected to relight a totem, and things like that. Now, I've thought about this, and a lot of people are like, it can be counterbalanced or it can be exploited by running Circle of Healing and them using Circle of Healing, putting down the Hex Totem. Well, once the Hex Totem's lit, the survivor that has it, once it gets snuffed, they also get afflicted with a broken status effect. And each subsequent time that it is lit, it afflicts the survivors with a broken status effect. So, let me start over. The first time they use it, when they're at a solid state, they light the totem. Their health state remains unchanged. They go, the killer finds the totem, they snuff it out. They take a health state damage. If they go and relight it, and the killer snuffs it again, they go down or get a severely decreased deep wound status effect. They're like 3 seconds to mend or something like that, and gives the killer a notification, or just for short term, they go down. Now, if the injured survivor relights the totem while injured, they are afflicted with a broken status effect for X amount of time. This prevents them from being able to relight the totem and then healing themselves up immediately using said totem. Or as a balance, you can make it to where the survivor that lights the totem can't use it after, X amount of times. First time it's for the entire team. If they relight the same totem again during the match, now it's for everybody except for them. Then the third time, if they relight it again, now it's severely decreased in power and it's almost, not worth using. Have it like a power skill like Built to Last. Something like that. This is all still on the top of my head. I'm just throwing ideas in as they pop up. Now, I've tried to personally balance this by giving all survivors in the area a free Dead Heart charge. It has the same cooldown, it gives them exhaustion, things like that, and the perk will disappear 20 seconds after they leave the area of effect. So one survivor lights it, and if it's snuffed, that survivor takes damage, or if since it's a health state on one survivor traded for a health state in all survivors. It could also do, a whole bunch of other things. I mean, there's hindered status effects, deep wound status effects. It can do anything once it's snuffed. It could have the pinhead chain effect come over the survivor who lit the totem, hold them in place and make them scream for like 30 seconds, and take the health state if it's, a strong enough perk that survivors are using. So basically, since she's, I guess, a witch is what I think the new character is, and deals with curses and hexes and things like that. Well, she has clairvoyance, but, let her get cursed, use her own body to supplement other survivors. So yeah, you get this amazing effect and everybody can dead hard while in the aura. However, if the perk gets snuffed out and the survivors allow this, the person who lit the perk gets severely crippled, and, basically gets absolutely wrecked. Which will make survivors, want to try to protect the totem, things like that, chase the killer in different areas, etc., etc. But I've tried balancing it like that. I've tried balancing it, like I said, where the effect, anybody that is affected with the particular phone call. Wait for it. Maybe. I don't think you can hear it. I'm just going to talk over it. Plus my fan's going. I tried making it to where when the boom totem is snuffed, any survivor that has that current effect plus the original person who lit it takes damage. So if 4 people are running around, dead hard and trying to bully the killer, The killer can just go over to the totem, snuff it, and all four of the survivors that are bullying and running around that has the effect takes one state of damage, basically balancing it out. You're trading a health state for another health state. um, Another thing to where once it's snuffed, all survivors get a deep wound status effect or a temporary status effect where it'd have to be new, sort of a deep wound, but if you cure it before it happens, you don't take damage, like the plague's bar and things like that. When it fills up, you get the broken status effect, but it doesn't affect you until it fills up. But the opposite, it affects you after it runs out. Just so you know, somebody's not trolling and lighting the totem and then letting the killer come over and extinguish it over and over to get people, downed and things like that. It prevents that from happening. I've also looked at No Mither being activated at a press of a button, or like I said earlier, your first down, to where you can literally run an entire game without No Mither if you don't need it, or if you do, think you're going down or something like that, or something happens, you can activate the perk and just injure and take that injury. Jesus. Which I'd personally like if I can just activate No Mither. Well, if I can activate No Mither, it activates automatically if you go down for the first time or anywhere during the match. I can activate it if need be. Just a thought. Like I said, the main goal of this discussion is to get further ideas and perks with the incorporation of a general survivor putting their health in place and getting a huge benefit for them or their team. Here's some of the replies. Love the idea of getting a massive bonus that, when removed, the magical whiplash causes damage. Maybe an infinite endurance status effect would work for it, maybe. A brand new parts effect that would also break the totem on use, thus causing the loss of a health state. Massive bonus when removed. The magical whiplash causes damage. That's the primary thing. An infinite endurance status effect. Work for it, or maybe a brand new parts effect. So somebody puts down the totem. Everybody gets the infinite endurance thing, which lets them get an extra hit for that one time. Then after, if the totem gets taken out, all of the survivors that have that endurance status effect take damage. Only thing I would add to that is after 4 uses of that's done, the totem deactivates itself, and then the perk deactivates itself. So regardless, somebody can get it 4 times and it deactivates, or every survivor can get that endurance status effect 4 times. Then afterwards, it deactivates, goes away. And I think I would still incorporate the fact that after it gets snuffed, even if all 4 people use it, the original caster takes damage, either getting rid of their endurance effect when the thing gets snuffed out after the 4th person gets their buff, or if it's snuffed out regularly. So if they keep their endurance status effect, they're rewarded by just losing it, but if they didn't, after everything goes through, they still take that hit from the magical backlash. I do like that. So I'm gonna add this in. I like the infinite endurance effect, and I'd like to add that, what did I say? Oh yeah, it only lasts for 4 casts on same person or different people. Cast delay. Yeah, cast delay on same person has a cooldown. Oh, Blake, I don't know. A chase is like what, 20 to 30 seconds? 20 to 30 seconds. And once effect gets casted 4 times, the original person who casts it takes damage. So you're giving up your health to give everybody else an endurance effect. If the original caster doesn't take damage and still has the effect, it returns to normal play. If they are or if they don't have the endurance effect, I'll go over this again. Don't worry about keeping up. If they don't have the endurance effect, they will take damage equal to 1 health state, downing them if they are injured at that time. Once it's casted 4 times, oh yeah, the what's it called? Totem. Totem is snuff, and let's destroy it too, because as of now, the killers don't have any type of way to relight totems. So, wow. I like the infinite endurance effect, and I'd like to add it only lasts for 4 casts. On the same person, different people. Cast delay on the same person has a cooldown of like 20 to 30 seconds. Once the effect gets casted 4 times, the totem is stuffed and destroyed, and the original person who cast it takes damage. If the original caster doesn't take damage and still has the effect, it returns to normal play. Or let's go to the normal state of play. Normal health state. Yeah. If the original caster doesn't take damage and still has the effect, it returns to normal health state. If they don't have the endurance effect, they will take damage equal to 1 health state, downing them if they are injured at that time. So I think the deep wound effect is too less of a balance type thing, because you are giving up potentially one of your health states to accommodate everybody else. If you don't stay at 100% power and the magical backlash comes back to you, I think you should be punished for that. And some people, you know, may cast this and hide in lockers, which gives the killer even more time if they're not bold about their usage. These are the ideals that I would like to have. You're giving up 1 health state to give everybody the endurance, which is from borrowed time and things like that, at an infinite time. I mean, if behavior decides to adapt this, they'll probably set it to like a minute or something like that, because you know it kind of gets OP when it's infinite, especially if you have somebody running a very evasive build. Adding on these perks could just be absolutely insane, and they could literally just train the killer all match. We want to kind of prevent that. And I guarantee there's going to be a negative added to this besides the whiplash damage. Because the idea is to give everybody that let them go and take an extra hit and thing like that. It's going to have some sort of huge backlash. If it's not for one health state, it might just entirely down the survivor. Because, I mean, you're essentially giving three other survivors a health state, which is the equivalent of, another survivor's worth of damage. I wouldn't be surprised if it was snuff that survivor instantly went down to equalize that out and make it not as an OP, as a perk. It would also benefit killers to actually go and look for boon totems and things like that, because as of now, even me personally, if I'm chasing a survivor and I see it, I might snuff it, or if I down a survivor by it, more likely, I'll hit it. Not mid-chase, unless, it's a really bad chase, and I'm just like, I'm gonna get this person regardless. But if not, I typically don't even bother snuffing boon totems. I'll just keep going about my day. They don't really bother me or cause any type of delay. Plus, I've now been running Starstruck with my setup, especially like Ghostface and things like that. When I down somebody, I can immediately go for a pickup, and if somebody uses a flashlight or something like that, or there's survivors that get close, all I have to do is look around me and then pick up to get that Starstruck value. If you want to flashlight me, fine, but now you're one hit from going down, your other buddy's injured, and if I leave a boon totem up, they're probably going to run that way, so that gives me a place to check, just kind of strategy wise. Next comment. Teabag and Ghostface. That is me to the T, baby. Do keep in mind, when I teabag somebody as Ghostface, I generally pick them up afterwards. I generally only teabag survivors that are arrogant, that are teabagging me and flashlighting me on the other side of pallets and thinking they're good. I'll turn on that try-hard switch, down them, teabag them, and then generally let them go. But you gotta get that moment of dominance to get that pride back. Perk boon, trip mine. When the killer snuffs this boon totem, they get stunned for 3 seconds. Gain blood points each time you stun the killer. Well, you can't name it Trip Mine because of the perk that Jill has. Or is it called Blast Mine? It might be called Blast Mine. It's called Blast Mine. Never mind. This is why we're doing it live, because generally I would look this up, and I would have corrected myself and had all the information before. This is how it kind of goes. This is how much time I generally spend on these. Minus, the reading and debating and the semi-balancing I'm trying to do the entire time to put it together, but we're not going to go that far. This is just off the top of the head. So when the killer snuffs this boon totem, they get stunned for 3 seconds. As a way to protect somebody, that places a, map-wide, nice extra endurance effect type thing. I suppose I could see them running that, because boon totems stack. Which is also another interesting thing. If they just add it to the side when you're blessing a totem and all of that, holding like L1 instead and using X, triangle, circle, or X to actually pick a specific boon to go on. Or letting you select which ones you want to apply where. Unless they decide to implement something like that, this might actually work semi decent. Or if they elect to implement that, that would be pretty decent. If they don't, all of your perks go to the same totem. So when they do that, whoever casted it, or all survivors, or whoever, the magical whiplash is going to affect. The killer also gets stunned, which allows them to do whatever they need to get done. Interesting. I don't know if I'd make that a boon perk on its own, but I would maybe add that to the original concept, however, of making it this original concept where all the survivors get the endurance status effect. The only way to balance that, though, would be to stun the killer for like 5 seconds, but all survivors would have to take a health state of damage to make that any kind of fair. Because by the time the killer gets unstunned and starts walking towards any of the survivors, it takes 32 seconds to heal if you have self-care. And then if it's another survivor healing you, it takes like 16 seconds or somewhere around there, like half the time. Circle of healing, I never went and actually did the math for that. I think it's like an 80% increase. So 80% of 32 is blah. 8, 16, 24 is 24 seconds off or something like that. If it's even 80%. It would take 8 seconds. Oh no. It can't be that overpowered, right? It can't be 80% for Circle of Healing. Well, no, because Self-Care has a 50% increase to that. 100% bonus to healing speeds. Unlocks the self-care ability, allowing to self-heal without needing a medkit at 50% normal healing speed. Also benefits from healing speed bonuses, boosting to self-healing speed to 100%. So if you run into, well, it gives you self-care, is what it does. You run into it and you have a med kit, you'll have a 100% increase on your med kit healing speed. If you don't have a med kit, you'll get 50% speed. If you don't have any type of things or anything like that. So it's the same as self-care. It'll take 32 seconds. To heal yourself using Circle of Healing. And 16 seconds if somebody else comes and helps you out. But I feel as though it's a lot faster than that. Because I could have sworn, I mean, I played beta. I haven't used Circle of Healing since beta. But I felt like Circle of Healing was extremely fast compared to that. But yeah, if it's just unlocks self-care for everybody, I don't see what the hubbub is about. Because if it's just self-care, I would rather have Circle of Healing over self-care, because self-care, survivors can heal everywhere. Versus Circle of Healing, they have to go to a spot to heal. So by the time the survivor travels over to the spot, they all get together, they heal and things like that. It's round about the same amount of time for self care. And travel and all of that other stuff equals to the same amount of time, so the 32 seconds. And last, both of these. Oh, oh, also benefits from healing speed, boosting the self healing speed to 100%. So you get 100% heal speed and Circle of Healing because it adds 100% and gives you self care, which is 50%, giving you another. Oh my lord! So it's 16 seconds of heal time while inside Circle of Healing. Now I can see where the self care balancing and all of that comes around there. Self care takes 32 seconds, but you can stay near wherever Jin or anything like that. While Circle of Healing takes 16 seconds, but you have to travel out. Well, if somebody heals you and you don't use either, it takes 16 seconds. So it's not necessarily, Circle of Healing wasn't necessarily balanced around self-care. It was balanced around regular healing times. So if you have, let's say, somebody sitting in front of a generator getting healed by another survivor, it's 16 seconds. Which might even be two survivors to get down to 16 seconds. I don't know. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I haven't actually looked up healing times or anything like that. I'm assuming one survivor knocks it down. It might take two survivors to knock it down to 16 seconds. Well, Circuit of Healing, you have to go to a specific place to get the 16 seconds. It might seem broken because Circle of Healing will get you essentially healed in 16 seconds, but if you think about the time loss, you're losing two survivors working on a generator to heal somebody. So that's 16 seconds off of a gen for both of you. That's essentially 32 seconds lost, which is the original heal time if a survivor heals you. That's 32 seconds lost off of generator, 16 apiece. And I'm not talking about percentages. I know percentages are different. I'm talking about just based off time. Just time in general, not percentages. If you go by percentages, things are going to get scuffed. But if you go by just time balance, it works. Survivor heals another survivor in front of the generator. That's 32 seconds off the gen that can be put in. 32 seconds is how long it takes somebody to heal with self-care. So you're essentially balancing out the time doing the same amount. 16 seconds going doing the Circle of Healing. It takes time to get to the totem. Then you have to heal. Then you have to come back. On average, it's going to be about, 16. If it's farther away, maybe 20, 25 seconds, depending on how far you have to run, which balances that out. So no matter which method of healing you take, it's actually balanced to be the same. For those of you who are confused, I'm going to make this very layman's term. One survivor jumps off of a generator to heal another survivor. That's 32 seconds lost. Okay? If one survivor runs self-care, that's 32 seconds lost. If one survivor runs Circle of Healing and has to run back to that place to heal and then come back, that's roundabouts 32 seconds lost. So it's essentially the same. So if you're mad about new boon totems, take the moment to do the math, at least time wise, and it might bring your rage down a little bit because it's the same amount of time. It's just different methods of implementing the same thing. Killer getting stunned. My original idea was to punish the original caster if they did something silly like where most people do. They put their boon totems in the middle of the map because it's where everybody can get them. If you're forced to put them hidden on the side of the map, it's more selfish because you can probably get more endurance status effects than anybody else, and some survivors might not ever go over there. So it's not a guaranteed spread to everybody. Somebody could be greedy and keep taking and taking and taking. Or if you're an amazing looper and you can just keep the killer in that particular area and keep using charges of it until the killer says, you know what, I'm tired of this, and snuffs it. You know? Now the killer can continue chase and also has a free hit of damage. But the more I think about it, if killer's in mid chase and somebody's running around the boon totem and all like that, it's going to need to be more of a stopgap. Because as the killer's being ran in this aura and they keep getting charges, keep getting charges, keep getting charges, if the killer's forced to break chase for even a second to snuff that totem, depending on what perks the survivor's running, that could be enough to get to another loot. So I actually should amend what I'm saying and make the survivor that lit the totem go down into the dying state. So this way, when the killer stops and snuffs the totem, they're getting value back and then continuing a chase on another person. However, I think that the aura of the dying survivor should be hidden. They should make like a scream or something like that to alert the killer of the direction it's coming from. Then their aura should be hidden afterwards to try to balance that. Or something along that line. So if the killer elects to continue the chase, that survivor has a chance to get up. They can also insert another status effect of like time encapsulation or stagnant death or something like that, to where you can get a semi-timer placed on you when you're in the dying state. The dying state bar doesn't go down while you're in this perpetual death state. However, you can't be picked back up for that time. So if you get like 10 seconds of perpetual death state, or 20 seconds of perpetual death state after screaming, the killer won't know where you are after the initial scream, but that gives the killer time to at least get a hit on the other survivor or even finish the down and head towards a hook. And if survivors do elect to come to you quickly, can get you up too to keep the game going at a continuous flow. Or if they elect not to save you or something like that, you know, then it gives you the chance to 20 extra seconds to try to get away or hide or something like that. That's not going to add to your bleed out bar. So perpetual death. I think that sounds like a pretty cool status effect. Something like that. It's just something to add to the list. Instead of doing it live, generally I would write this down, and then once I get a whole bunch of ideas, I would try to jam them together the best I can to make what I think is a solid perk, and then I would start pulling weeds out of things I didn't need or things that are too OP, and then buff it, sand it, you know, make it good. Sand it, then buff it. Well, I guess you would buff it, then sand it, then polish it. But you could do it either way, depending on what you're working on. If it's a tile floor or wood, let's not get into that. Or a car. This is a general idea. I started out just giving somebody dead hard and then making them take a health state. This is adding an endurance effect with the greater trigger. This is an idea for balancing. That, hey, when killer snuff this boon totem, they get stunned for 3 seconds. Kind of a deception or distraction type thing. So I like this addition. And I'm currently talking about possibly it to the original underline Perk. How hard is it to spell origin right? How hard is it? I didn't even add the I. I put the cursor there and never put the I. Well, I guess it's not origin, because origin isn't Origin. I don't know. It's original. Same base word. You know what I'm saying. Next thing. I think I went over this. I brought in No Mither. I went over both aspects of it. The interactive. No, I never went over the second aspect of the interactional perk. The second aspect of interactual perks. Let's see if we can find another screen. Give you something to read or something. I don't know. New perk ideas I wanted to show off. Everybody commented there. See if I can find a meme post. This a meme post? Is this like for Jason Voorhees or something? There you go. A meme post. Or MK10, whatever MK10 references. Unless that's a Jason Voorhees. There you go. Meme post. The second aspect of interactional perks. Interactional. Interactive. Interactional. Purple burglar alarm. Purple burglar alarm. Alright. Second part of that is making perks that are ran together that normally shouldn't be or can't be ran together effectively have some sort of interaction. For instance, if you take No Mither and you run it with self-care, I think there should be some sort of tertiary interaction that you should have between the two. Just for using a dead perk. For example, let's say you run No Mither and self-care. You should spawn in the match having a boon totem automatically lit with Circle of Healing or something like that. Once it's gone though. Or if you want to activate No Mither on top of that, once the boon totem is lit, if it isn't already, No Mither's activated for you. You go into the broken status effect. So, running self-care and No Mither, which is completely stupid, and if somebody new, thinks about it, and they don't know what broken is, and they do this, they can at least have some sort of interactive effect between self care and no mither. Because as of now, you have perks that shouldn't be ran together, and if you do pick no mither, the game excuse me, doesn't automatically black out other perks that can't be run with it or don't work with it or anything like that. It doesn't give you any type of explanation saying this perk, you know, cannot be used with this perk, or the interaction between the perks, or etc. etc. So, just giving it some sort of interaction. No mither and self care gives you, I don't know, a soul guard or an extra endurance status effect when you first, spawn in. Just any little, thing. I mean, you're giving up an entire perk slot, so I figure you should get something in return. I'm not saying it should last all game unless, you're that good at the game, but, you know, getting an extra endurance hit for giving up an entire perk slot sounds reasonable, right? The interactional perk idea, I'll have to make an entire form and things like that. What else do we have? So I'm gonna try to go back to around the start of October and see what the very first October post is. New boon totems, the white toxic killers. I said I would do the first one from October, so here we go. Oh, lordy, lordy, lord. I think somebody generally got tunneled or something and then came and wrote just a massively angry, just. Oh no. Ryan the narrator, why? Okay. Boon. Energy Swift. A boon that has given enhanced reflexes to the living. Press and hold the active ability button near a dull totem or hex totem to bless it and create a boon totem. Soft chimes ring out within a radius of 28 meters. When survivors or killers are inside the boon totem's range, their actions are 50% faster with the following effects. Movement speed is increased by 8, 10, 12%. Repair, vaulting, healing, searching, cleansing, unhook, actions. Actions. And attack cooldowns are increased by 18%. You can only bless one totem at a time. All equipped boon perks are active on the same boon totem. The way this is worded, I don't think either this person played the beta and he was trying to pregame the chapter release, which came out I think mid-October, recently here. Played the beta and he's just trying to, pregame everything and let everybody know this is how boon totems are working, this is how I want to design this. If not, I don't know. Boon Energy Swift is said to enhance the reflexes of the living. I don't know how I feel about it. It's got too much rolling off the tongue and it affects way too many things. Soft chimes rang out within a radius of 28 meters. One, the more things that you add to your totem, I think it should be cut back. Or at least cut it back to, like 18, 20 meters because you want to add so much. But I mean, when survivors or killers are inside boon totem's range, their actions are 50% faster. Right there is where you should have ended that perk. Whenever anybody goes within the Boon Totem's range, or killers or survivors, go inside the Boon Totem range, because you want to, typically, when you're describing something, you want to put the names of everything in an alphabetical order. One, it removes bias from survivor bias and killer bias and things like that. Because generally, if somebody puts survivors first, they generally play survivors. Which I mean, judging by the title, yeah. Whatever name they put first means that's exactly what they are. However, if somebody questions you on it and you play both like I do, you put everything in alphabetical order, killers and survivors. When it comes to describing any type of sensitive issue, you should always put everything you're listing in alphabetical order. So if anybody wants to bring something up and say, well, you're talking about this group first because you're biased towards them, like, no, it's in alphabetical order. I'm doing things properly, listing things how they should be. But when killers or survivors, because K becomes before S, are inside Boon Tunnel's range, their actions are 50% faster. That should be the end of it. Actions do not include movement or anything like that. Actions are anything that you interact with the action button to do. So running's not going to be included, attacking's not going to be included, and things of that nature. Repairing might be considered an action. I think it is. Might not be. Not sure. Hmm. Well, repair couldn't be included in this, so no. Because if you're given a 50% increase of an action and repair is part of that, then the Boon Totem doesn't work. That takes generators from being 80 seconds to 40 seconds. As I said, don't quote me word for word on percentages. I'm just going off the top of my head. Don't be like, well, if two people work on it, it's not going to be 100% because it's going to be a fraction of their speed. Instead of, since it says 50% efficiency, it's not going to be exactly half because the percentages, you're just saving a percent on there, not the actual 50. Like, I understand. But the overlying point is that it's going to be a significant amount of speed faster than what it generally would be, is what I'm going off of this. I know this is just 50% because it says there, but when you add more people to the equation, it's going to change. So yeah, if survivors are inside the Boon Totem range, them being able to do basically everything 50% faster, that's going to cause a problem. You've now made that a perk to where survivors can literally steamroll killers. You have one survivor purposely run out and get into a chase. This guy that knows his chases and knows how to loot killers well. You have him go out with, dead hard and all the rigmarole and shebang that he needs to keep the killer on him and interested but not go down. Any totems that are near generators, which I mean with this type of speedrun build, you're going to want to have the totem finding perk that I can't think of on the top of my head to find one that's near a generator. Once you find that, if you're lucky and you have one there, that's a generator that's going to be done in 40 seconds. If it's a good chase, you'll be able to get a generator done and then go help somebody else with their generator or jump on another generator and get that done. By the time the chase gets done, with any luck, you'll have 3.5 if not 4, if you have a really good totem spawn and things like that and nobody's messing around. Perfect speedrun strats. 4 gens done. That is absurd. Just about. Because if you have a very good first person run, you can get 3 gens done if everybody goes to a separate gen and works on them, and the chase lasts that long. That's crazy. Movements, if you increase survivors and killers' movement speed, you're actually significantly increasing the killer speed over the survivors because killers by base move faster. If you increase 100 by 1%, you get 101%. If you increase 1% by 1%, you get like 0.001% increase. It's not very noticeable. In this case, it's 12%. Adding 12% speed on a killer is very significant. They are going to be zooming. Adding 12% to a survivor, they're going to be faster, but they're not going to be zooming nearly as fast as a killer. And I'm not going to do the math because I don't want to spend a large amount of time doing movement speed and seeing what the increase is, but it's going to be equivalent to probably like a 25%, maybe 20% increase on a killer, rounded up, versus only like, 12% increase to survivor speed, if not lower, comparatively. So, I don't think repairing is considered an action though. So repair speeds will have to be thrown out. Bolting speeds, 50% faster. You're basically turning a medium bolt into a fast bolt. That's going to have to be cut out. You can give bolting speed, but it has to be severely decreased because that's where most killers get their punishes on. They get punishes on medium bolts and catches and fakes and things like that. If you make it to where a survivor can fast bolt every window and pallet in a general area, they are going to steamroll, especially with that slight increase in speed. But then increasing the killer speed could also significantly affect it and basically nerf the survivor's route. It all depends on the level of the killer and survivor. If they're the same level, survivor will probably win. If they're not the same level, killer will probably win. Of course, if the killer's a greater level or equal, till it gets down to the low levels. Healing. Self-care is 50%. Adding 50% on that makes that 75%. You remember what I said earlier about percentages? If you have a 50% efficiency increase with self-care and you add another 50% of 50 is 25, that's 75%. Remember when I said time is better to go off of than percents because it gets scuffed? That's what I'm talking about. Self-care will now be 75% faster. Circle of healing, which now takes 16 seconds, or somebody else healing you, will now be, Jesus, 8 seconds? Somewhere around there? 8 seconds to heal? So, movement speed has been debunked. Repair speed has been debunked. Vaulting has been debunked. Healing has been debunked. Searching being 50% faster, I don't see that being any type of problem. Being able to search boxes, things like that. Some killers' perks actually pop off when you search boxes. cleansing, that's also going to be a problem because there are some killer perks that increase the amount of cleansing, and I think it's like 9% or something like that. I will look this up. Cleansing. So you have Counterforce. Gain another stackable 20% cleansing speed bonus per cleanse totem. And she can see the aura. So that's 20% on that. Then you go down to what's it called? Let me find it. Survivors suffer from a stackable 10% action speed penalty per totem to cleansing and blessing up to a maximum of 50%. Now, this perk right here, Thrill of the Hunt, gives you a stackable 50% cleansing. While Jill, at its max, gives you, I think, 30% or something like that. Hunt down, cleanse totem. Now, it's just 20% per. 5 totems, you go from 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Thrill of the Hunt gives you a 50% decrease in cleansing. So, if they're running up against a Thrill of the Hunt, the first time that they do something is going to be a 30% decrease in speed. Second totem is going to be a 10% decrease in speed. It takes 3 totems to even get a net positive of 10%. And then, 30%. And then, it stacks all the way up to it's like 50%. I lost track of my math. This was balanced along Thrill of the Hunt and things like that. This perk gives you a 50% faster and cleansing totems. If anybody's running Thrill of the Hunt, which they have to do things to get stackable, bonuses up. It's just a race between the Thrill of the Hunt and Jill. Which one's faster? Thrill of the Hunt, I think it said something about dual totems or something like that, giving stackable. So, yes, you are constantly losing, but it takes about 2 or 3 to get back to, a minimum. To get positive, net positive over. This perk makes 50% faster in cleansing totems, which completely wipes out the bonus Thrill of the Hunt. Thrill of the Hunt has without even doing anything. Just because it exists, boom, your Thrill of the Hunt no longer has any type of use. If you run Thatanophobia or anything else that decreases speeds, boom, this basically just nullifies that. So, cleansing can't be added. So far we have searching, which is good. Unhooking, the only problem I have with unhooking is because I think it's called Desperate Measures. Gives you a 15% boost per injured or dying survivor. No. I was right. So you get a 14% for each injured, dying, or survivor up to a maximum of 56%. So if everybody's injured, you'll get a 56% healing and unhooking speeds. This perk completely throws that perk in the trash. You're gonna get a 50% unhooking and a 50% healing speed at all times. Now, granted, it has to be inside the Boon's energy thing. However, it's not really that hard to get somebody to get the ability, then run out, grab whoever it is, because they generally will persist throughout that time, do what you need to do, and then get things done. Or find the totem nearby and then do it that way, because you'll know where every totem is, because you'll be running a perk for it. Unhooking, yeah, I can see it. If they're hooked inside of the Boon Totem's range, unhooking 50% faster. I can see it. However, healing, not so much. They have Circle of Healing and things like that already, which addresses that issue. So you would have searching, possibly unhooking. Gate opening, absolutely not. 110%, absolutely not. One, I don't. No, I guess there is some particular cases where totems do spawn around the exit gates, so that's not true. I didn't think it was possible, but yes, it is possible to get a totem spawned by an exit gate. Even though it's not going to be an everyday, every time thing, letting the exit gates open 50% faster, you are out of your mind. Out of your absolute mind. Letting that do 50%. This is how I can tell you were angry. It's from the title and how you're rating these things. These aren't really thought out. They're just thought to slap killers down and not give them anything. But if you go back through and you ever elect to readjust and re-edit everything, this could actually be a usable perk. As it is now, that's just how I'm reviewing it, as it is now. Destroying an attack cooldowns. Wait, what? Attack cooldowns will increase by 12, 15, 8%. You can only last one total amount of time. Oh, I missed the and. There's no comma here. It's not, it's the separation. Okay. I get it. Actions are 50% faster. So that's just actions. Or 50%. And then the following effects are based off of this. No. Actions are 50% faster. Movement speed is that. Then repair, vaulting, healing, searching, cleansing, unhooking, and all of that other crap is 18%. Okay. Sentence structure. Gotcha. So the way this is wrote, their actions are 50% faster with the following effects. It makes you think that the following effects are going to be 50% faster. And then they just added in movement speed to cut that kind of out of the equation. Okay. Actions are 15% faster, as well as the following effects. Movement speed is increased by so and so. Separate this. Completely separate this. Then repair, vaulting, all this other stuff is increased by 18%. Gotcha. Because I was like 50%. across all of that is ridiculous. And the thing is I read all of this through and I still didn't even pick this up the first time I read it through. So, a 12% increase in repair speed, you're cutting off 10 seconds? Somewhere around there? 10-ish seconds? In the aura. Not bad. Bolting. I think Spine Chill only adds like, what, 4% or something like that? I don't think it's very significant. %6. Spine Chill in all of this gives you a 6%, and it's got action speeds. Yeah, action speeds is repairing, healing, sabotaging, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, opening, and unlocking. So that's why the 50%'s got me jacked, because all of those are actions. Yeah, okay. I was right in being completely. So you need to take out the 50% and all of that. You need to just remove that, the 50% faster, and just have inside the boon totem's range with the following effects. So movement speed is 12%, which is still way too much. Because even the totem movement speeds, I think, is somewhere around there. So repair, vaulting, healing, all that. So yeah, everything that I originally said with this being way too OP was correct. It's how this sentence structure was put out and how it is explained is what's confusing. So I'm gonna go through again with around a 20% change. Repair speed taking about a fifth of the time off. I'm gonna go ahead and say no within totem range. Same as with vaulting, 20% of vault speed. That still takes it from a medium to basically a fast vault. Healing does not need any more types of buffs. You're making self-care 70% effective, and Circle of Healing 120% effective. No, you don't need that, because you can stack that. Circle of Healing, other healing buff, things like that. Healing does not need to be a thing. Searching is fun. Cleansing at an 18% isn't completely terrible, because it would take that 50% down to 32%. Fine. Unhooking, I would make the top at about 12% or whatever I read earlier for desperate measures, somewhere around there. Gate opening, hooking, destroying, all of that other stuff, I would set it to whatever Spine Chill is set to, which was like 4-8%. Attack cooldown, I would remove completely, because there's a separate perk for that. So, remove the excess, or trim the fat, pull the weeds, and then nerf it down, cool it down or cook it down, and then make a fine soup out of it. Boom. And I don't know how to wipe toxic killers. I don't understand how the killers are actually too negatively effective in this, except for Gen Rush and healing strats. Because that movement speed that the killer gets is going to completely wreck any survivors trying to run a loop in that area. If they're not anywhere near that vault before the killer's going to be there to take them. Disorienting Force. A boon that can... Oh my god, just Unrelenting Force, Fusro Da just popped in my head. A boon that can slow down the danger. Press and hold the active ability near the dull or hex totem to Do I need to even read the rest of this? Because if it ends up being bullet time, I'm going to lose my mind. When survivors or killers are inside the boon totem's range, their actions are 50% slower with the following effects. Are you serious? It's the top thing, but backwards. Movement speed is decreased. Now, this negatively affects killers because they have a bigger portion to lose. If you take 20% of one, they're going to lose point whatever. Point. Stop saying 0.5. 0.05? A 20th or a fifth of their speed. While as you take 20% of a killer, that's 80%, so it'll go to 0.8. There you go. Survivors will be at 0.8, whilst killers are at 20% off at 80 as a comparison. Killers are actually going to lose a lot more speed. They'll still be faster than survivors, but they would lose more speed overall. And it does scale back some. The more speed they lose, the less they lose overall. It's a scale. Repair, vaulting, all of that stuff cooldown is decreased by 26, 22, 18%. If you have this boon perk, after using it on a totem, you'll become unaffected to the slowing effect. Okay, so that's the kicker. That's what I was waiting to read. So, does it say it here at the top here? No. So, Energy Swift is the positive version of that. Everybody gets the buff. Disorienting Force, only the killer gets the negative version of this. Unless you are a survivor and don't have this particular boon. But once you see the boon pop up, you're not going to go there anyway. So this is essentially, killer gets all of these negatives. Couple of positives, but it doesn't outweigh the huge negatives that killers have. This is actually punishing a killer for initiating in a chase. Because a survivor can just go over to this area and not get affected by any of this. And if they're running both of them together, this stacks. This is a huge stack on some things. Other things it cancels out. Other things it makes faster. The attack cooldown getting decreased to 18%. And now this is increased here. So this increases. So really? Now I can see where the wipe toxic killers come in. So this guy, his whole purpose is to make it when a killer gets into a chase and gets into this particular effect that the survivor has set up, the killer is basically useless. So now that I've seen these, both of these need to be scrapped. Absolutely, positively scrapped. Not reworked, not redone. It just needs to be thrown in the trash, thrown in the incinerator, and rewrote to actually make any type of logical sense. This is obviously an article wrote by somebody angry, and it would actually benefit the community as a whole to just have this completely deleted off of this entire forum at this point. I'm going to keep going over them just so we can see how Ryan the narrator's brain works, but yeah. As of now, those two, throw them away. Boon, fighting power. A boon with the fighting hope to face the darkness. Press and hold the Why are you trying to make boon totems active abilities? The whole point is you get a boon from being in them, not an ability. It's not an ability totem. Those might come in the future. It's a boon totem. And I'm not saying that because right here it just explains the how you create the boon totem. I'm talking about here. Press the active ability to. For all of you who are like, oh, well, he's just explaining how the boon totems you're going over. Like, no, I read down some. When each generator is fully prepared, you gain one totem. Gain a 20, 25%, 30% haste status effect for 10 seconds after repairing a generator. Oh, okay. When each generator, so per prepared gen, you get up to 5 totems. One totem, you get haste status effect after repairing a generator. 3, wiggling speed increased by 25%. 5 totem, you can instantly recover from dying state once per trial. Another garbage perk. I was going to be nice about it, go through and all of this, but this is obviously a meme and a troll and a way to just get back at killers. This isn't made to be serious. They might have been serious at the time writing this, but if they came back and read it, they'd see how just trying to come up with better words than the words that are popping in my head. They're not very nice. I'm gonna throw out a word, just how petty, there we go, petty these perks are. You are completely buffing survivors for doing gens and punishing killers for not stopping survivors from doing gens. We're basically going on extended chases. You're punishing killers. This is way beyond toxic killers. This is the type of entitled survivors that I personally think should retire from the community. Watch people play on streams, but don't pick up the game and actually play yourself till you can get over this. I mean, that's the only nice way I can put it. You don't need to be playing the game if the game's mentally affecting you to this extent. To where you should get a 30% haste status effect for 10 seconds after repairing a generator. If the killer's in an area or comes after you or something like that and you stick the gen to finish it, you now are zooming away faster than the killer. The killer cannot catch you at this point. It is a 30% increase in speed. I don't even need to do the math, and I can say that's going to be a lot faster than what the killer can run. And that's 10 seconds of that haste. That's crazy. If you played any of the event now, and you go back and look at this, where you can use the serum and all of that, the serum doesn't give you but what, like a 10%, and you can escape chases. 3 totems, wiggle speed is increased by 25%. There are perks that actually already increase wiggle time, and if stacked with this would make this way too overpowered. Especially because, let's say, every survivor runs this. And another thing that I don't understand is, why did you make this a boon totem perk? Like, are you making it to where somebody has to be camped inside of this boon totem the entire time as things happen to get these effects? Just like, let's just go to the primary issue first. Why did you make this a boon totem? It's not a hex totem. You get effects from being inside of this aura that it emits. So, taking one survivor out of this, out of the entire equation of playing the game and having them camp in this aura to get all of these nice effects, is redundant. Because they're generally losing an entire person. That's 80 seconds times 5. That's what? Is that 8 times 5? Is like, I don't know. I want to say 40 off the top of my head. Yeah, 8 times 5 is 40. Be confident. So that's 400 seconds, which equates to, I don't know. Don't ask me there, like 6 2/3 minutes or something like that. Of you not doing anything. Just sitting in this boon totem. Or are you saying the tokens are stored in the totem? And everybody that goes by just picks up the tokens and now they have these just super abilities? Like, how do you expect to spin this? Does it affect for one survivor? Does it go for all of them? I mean, is there a max of 5 totems that it gives out spread throughout different survivors? Or is first come, first serve? Everybody get it? Because, like, this perk, it can't be implemented as it is. There's no such thing as a hex survivor perk in the game. And if you did want to incorporate one, this is not the way to do it. And I think what you mean by toxic killer is by killers who run no ad and things like that. Who run like Ghostface and Myers and things like that that have the insta downs or plague. And then run no ad and things like that at the end of the game. That's what I'm starting to narrow everything down to. I think it's this one. Because the ability to instantly recover when in a dying state once per trial. What's going to happen here is killer can't pick up everybody. Can't hook everybody. If you all go to an exit gate and you work on it and people are just taking hits for the person that's in front of the exit gate, it's going to be completed before the killer can actually get through 2 hits on each person and then pick the person on the exit gate up. Or if they're at, well, I think you can pick them up at full health from the exit gate. If not, a hit there too. So the killer has to get through, hit 6 hits, and as soon as he downs them, they can just stand back up and run away and do whatever they need to do. And it's just going to be a lot of stacking, and the killer's going to be frustrated. Even if you're running a killer like Myers or something like that, and you get the 1-hit downs, if you elect to pick any of the survivors up, which they're all going to be closing or crawling towards the door, things like that, they're just going to pick themselves up and go. And if they have something like Soul Guard or anything like that, they're going to have the endurance status effect, which still gives them the extra hits and things like that. This perk's not going to work. That's another dumpster bound one. Can we at least get one good one out of this long thing? Please, just give me one. Boom. Restoration. A boon to recover the pieces that have been broken. When the killer damages a generator when you are at least 20 meters away, you will gain a token. 1. Grunts of pain are reduced 60%. No. What? This isn't even complete. 1 token, I guess, does nothing. 2 tokens, grunts of pain are reduced. 4 tokens, repair speed increased by 6% on a damage generator for 30 seconds. 6 tokens, face 3 skill checks to gain 15% of progress. So a scuff, brand new parts. Excuse me. Ooh. Um, this is rushed, incomplete, or something happened because one, two, three, four, five, and six is generally what. Well, generally it's one, two, three, four, and five, and it never goes beyond five tokens. That's just the rule of thumb. There may be some hexes or perks that go beyond that, but most that I've seen stop at five. uh, when a killer damages a generator when you're at least 20 meters away. So anytime a killer damages a generator that you're not near, you gain tokens. So this is going to stack very, very quickly. So any hope of salvaging this perk is already done. So any killer that's gen patrolling and kicking gens, they're easily going to get that token count high. And the fact that after 2 tokens, your grunts of pain are 60% decreased, anybody playing on console are screwed. I play with headphones on PC. I can still hear you. Even if you'd have like a 95% decrease, I could still hear you. Headphones are amazing. Anybody on console and not running headphones to send audio through are screwed. That is a console nerf. Repair speed increased by 6% on a damaged generator for 30 seconds. So if it gets kicked and you go to it within the next 30 seconds, you'll get a 6% increase in repair speed, which doesn't actually amount to just a 6% increase. That's 6% for 30 seconds. And a 6% increase, well, a 10% takes out 8 seconds. God, I don't want to do that math. But basically, if you do something for 6% buff for 30 seconds, you're getting more than a 6% buff. So that's going to have to be reworked. Face 3 skill checks to gain 15% of a generator's progress. How? When? How are you going to incorporate that? Is it for the person who just lit the boon? Is it for every survivor? Is it for the next generator that they touch? But then if you do that, and you haven't touched the gen since you got the 4 tokens, now you're going to have a 6% increase on the 15% of the pair speed. So now it's more than 15% of its progress. Like, your perks, they aren't balanced right. They don't incorporate even themselves into that. I was partially with you when I thought you had to be within 20 meters when the generator was kicked. And I was going to say the grunts of pain's going to have to be pulled back. I can see you having grunts of pain and things like that because, reduced by a little bit. But I mean, people running no mither and all of that, don't even have any high amount. I mean, I guess it's been changed, but you're taking away from no mither the little bit that they get there. And then Iron Will has the 100% eventually. You're taking away from that perk. But if a killer comes in and kicks the perk and you are injured, or slaps you and then kicks the generator, if your grunts of pain, which naturally, if you're being chased, you're not going to want to scream, you're going to want to be a little bit quieter, I could understand that. But the fact that none of the rest is in order makes this very difficult. Like the repair speed increased by 6% on a damaged generator for 30 seconds. You got to think about the 3-gen situations and the beginning, the beginning of the match. and the end of the match and things like that, where that 6% increased on a damage generator, then you have to think about Survive with Friends, where that 6% can be increased before times the 24%, or 6% for 30 seconds by 4 people, because it's not going to be exact 24%, will factor in. And you have to think about more things like that. Plus the skill check. If you get 3 ginned, and everybody's facing a 3 skill check to get 15% of its progress back, that's 15%, 30%, 45%, 60% of a generator that everybody hits their skill checks and takes turn grabbing onto the generator can get. And if it was after it was kicked, plus the 6% on top of that for the 30 seconds that each one of you would buff to increase, making that gen go very, very quickly. Same as with all of these. You have to think about the beginning game, the end game, and if it's going to be stackable with other people. If your healing speed and all of that is, what did you say, 12% or something like, no, 18%, which is basically 20%, and you have 3 survivors working on the other survivor, you know, that's going to stack to be extremely quickly. You have to think, if I am a killer and I down a survivor and his friends are nearby, are they going to be able to pick that survivor up before I get done with my hit animation and go for another swing on somebody? Because if it gets to the point to where they're picking them up before I can do an actual swing to do anything to anybody else, killers that don't have any type of exposed status effect or anything like that can't do anything. They are stun locked. Because with other kill perks stacked on top of this, they're getting basic kills faster than the killer can damage. So boon payback, a boon that punishes the wicked and keeps the wives safe. When the killer snuffed out the boon totem, the killer will start groaning and reveal its aura to survivors if they are 30 meters away. The killer cannot see survivor scratch marks for 12 seconds. So, by core design, killers do not give out any type of notifications like that. At least to my knowledge. When the killer snuffs out a boon totem, it doesn't say this one, it says a boon totem, so that's any boon totems that are on the map. The killer will start groaning and reveal this aura to survivors if they are 30 meters away. It's kind of redundant, because if the killer snuffs out a boon totem, survivors are aware, because 1, you can hear the sound, but 2, you can actually see that the notification of the boon totem is gone. Any survivor that has eyes will see that everything's gone. So there's only value you get from this if survivors are more than 30 meters away from the killer. They see the killer's aura. They see the killer's aura. And then the killer can't see any type of survivor scratch marks. The problem with this is boon totems do not get destroyed when they are snuffed. So if a killer snuffs a boon totem and a survivor's nearby, the survivor who has third-person view can just see which way the killer's going. And if the killer's coming towards them, they can run around to the other side and keep avoiding the killer till the killer leaves, which generally killers don't stay that long. Soon as the killer leaves, relight the totem, lather, rinse, repeat. Or, if you're on a generator and the killer comes by, sees the totem, snuffs it, and heads towards generator, or vice versa, The killer's aura is now going to be able to be seen by everybody, and if it's SWF, they can just call out the killer's position. But also, 12 seconds of not being able to see scratch marks for the survivors is ridiculous. Even Deception, which I run a lot, gives me like what? I think the level I have it on is only 3 seconds, and that's enough for me to feint the locker and then disappear from the killer and they never catch me or find me. 10 seconds? Or 12 seconds of that? To just be able to run freely without the killer knowing which direction I went? It's too much. But this is almost a sensible perk. At least there's one that's semi-sensible that can be reworked to make usable. Which means this last one's going to be just absolutely crazy and insane. I'm really going to lose my mind. Mind's Eye. If it's like clairvoyance, sir. A boon bears the power to see the small critical actions easily. Receive a 6% repair or healing speeds for 3 seconds on great skill checks. Why not just give them extra great skill check progress and cut out the extra 3 seconds? Great skill checks are now 10% more effective, or 6% more effective. And cut out all of that. When the killer has hooked a survivor, you will gain 1 token which affects repairing or healing skill checks. 1 token. Great skill check success zones are 12% bigger. The whole point of having a great skill check success zone is to make it difficult for you to hit. If you're making them a 12% bigger, you're basically guaranteeing a great skill check every single time. And you're making it like basically a no-brainer. Then you increase great skill success chances to 24% bigger, to 36% bigger, to 50% bigger. Then at 5 totems, skill check pointer is 25% slower. So for your average Dead by Daylight player, just having the 1 token variant of this perk, 12% bigger, is more than enough than they'll ever need. But then you stack and stack and stack and stack, trying to make this a boon token, basically a hex perk, but for a survivor, like a boon hex perk again. It's not necessary. You have 4 survivors. If you have 4 survivors, great skill checking everything, and then getting bonuses from the other perks that you have, because all of these perks, or 4 of these perks, will be added in on 1 boon totem when you light it, or 3. Is it 3? No, I think you can get 4 perks. They haven't officially set a limit, so 4 of those perks that you've previously mentioned are all going to be stacked on 1 boon totem. There is really no negative for all of these. Separate, if you included, 1 of these and then heavily nerfed and rechanged it, these are still garbage. Sorry. They really are. You might be able to get away with it. That 1, which I think was Restoration or something, if you took this 1 out of all of them and then basically trashed the rest, now I'll give you Mind's Eye. If you take Mind's Eye and heavily nerf it, because even if you just made normal skill checks greater, I mean, there's other perks that does the same thing. And got rid of the rest of this and kind of reworked it and added something else into it. Okay, normal skill check bars are longer, but if you hit a great skill check, you get extra repair progress or something. I could see something like that needing a little bit more balance, yeah. Same with restoration. If you rewrite it and balance it, you have two good perks out of one, two, three, four, five, out of six or so, which was edited. So two out of six perks. I mean, are good. The rest are questionable. I'd recommend in the future not sitting down and writing an entire article posted to a forum when you're angry. Because this is what this is full of. It's just anger and hate. I think I've spent like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours basically saying the same thing over and over about hate. If anybody needs an example of perks that need balancing and things like this, yes, it's long, drawn out, and has a lot of detail, but it's not balanced and it not sensible to the game itself. But this is a good rough draft. You put whatever's in your brain down at the time, whether angry or not. What he failed to do is, after editing this the first time, is going back and reprocessing it down again and looking at it again and saying, maybe I did go a little bit overboard here or there. Maybe this needs to be removed. Looked at other perks. Like, there's an official perk guide. Look at other perks that are similar to what you're trying to do and go off of them. And if you incorporate two different perks together into one perk, nerf each and every one of these to try to push this through, or add some sort of, nerf both of the perks together so each one of these separately can be used, but then add something original to it to make it worthwhile if you want to try to do it like that. I don't recommend it, but you'll have a higher success rate than opposed to making a perk that combines two perks together. It's just not worth it. Also, small game is the hex detecting perk I was thinking about. But yeah, went through all of this, all submitted by Ryan the narrator. Granted, it was before Boon Perks came out, but it was after the beta. So, I mean, there's no shame or hate or anything like this. I might have been a little bit over brutal, but all of this majority needs to be reworked, and some of these perks need to be redone or completely deleted. But all in all, good job. You did put out, something that somebody else reading through these might say, hey, this might work for my killer, and then they go through, pull part of this out, and add it to their lines. You never know. That's just a luck of the draw thing that you were the first one to post something in October. Dumb chapter idea, Super Mario Brothers. Nope, that is Nintendo. Never gonna happen. Lost at Sea, that is water graphics. Probably not gonna happen if you have a water type map. But let's see. Captain, weapon, cutlass. A ghostly cutlass. Cursed cutlass. Maurice. I mean, I know you want to do a design and everything, and you want to visualize a Mori and how everything happens, but leave that to the actual game developers to include how they want. That's not something that you necessarily want to add in. The Mori is kind of the signature. That behavior and all of that puts on a particular character. Because if you design everything from start to finish, everybody that's submitting these, I should probably put as a disclaimer before. 80% of the things that you put down are going to be changed. They'll take probably the original idea, not the name or anything like that. If it's based off something, it'll probably have a generic name and a change of shape and everything, so they don't have to contract it. Story wise, they may keep, just to say, this is an ode to the creator. They may completely change and make shorter and more just indirect so it doesn't point at something. The height and everything like this, movement speed, all of this, that'll be determined by behavior. That's not something you necessarily need. The most you could probably put is like tall, medium, or short. Try to get some sort of sway, but beyond that, you don't need to put all of this. 4.6 meters per second movement speed, that's regular killer move speed. I'm pretty sure. It says 115%. I'm pretty sure regular move speed's 4.6. Is it 4.3? That's why I have this out. Never clicked on it though.